Viewers of Cino MMA. I am here on a Tuesday afternoon with a brand new video, and it is fights to make after UFC 325. Usually every Monday, after every card, I have a breakdown video of the card. However, sadly, I had class yesterday, and I had to work late, so I didn't get that out. So I'm just kind of playing with it because nobody watches my videos anyways, kind of playing with the algorithm when I post, the types of videos, and seeing maybe, if you should just go into a video like this if after the event people don't really care unless you're, a bigger YouTuber to see your thoughts or opinions on it. So, not a lot of people make videos like this. So, I thought I would just go ahead and start the weekly uploads with the fights to make after UFC 325. We will be going over the bigger names on the card and looking at future matchups, discussing the matchups that just took place this past Saturday. And just to recap UFC 325 real quick, Volk freaking retained, man. It was a decent fight. I wasn't bored out of my mind. I was just like the type of fight it was and not wanting Volk to get chinned and Diego having the punching power he has. I was at the edge of my seat most of the fight watching it. It wasn't a crazy fight. It wasn't like UFC 324 main event, Gaethje Patty at all. It was kind of close. They were close rounds, but I thought it was pretty clear, like Volk 4-1. I thought it was pretty clear, maybe 3-2, but I thought Volk won pretty easily. I've seen people saying, like, Diego could have won it. I don't see that at all. I think it was a clear Volk win. So, I'm not going to give too many hot takes on that. We're going to leave it at that. But let's just go ahead and get right into the video. What the heck is that, man? Oh, gosh dang. I hate when this stupid computer doesn't work right. Volkanovski. You don't know what just popped up on the screen. You didn't see that. Volkanovski. He did it again. He is so high up in the GOAT list. Imagine if he would have pulled off the win against Makhachev or didn't get chinned by Ilya. This guy would be the greatest by far, and those are two big what ifs of all time. Those are his only two losses. The guy beat Max Holloway, probably a bare minimum top 15, top 10 guy of all time. Beat him 3 times. Schooled him twice. Volk's he's top 5, top 3 maybe. GOAT lists are hard though. GOAT lists are hard. I need to work on a video for that. But he defends again. He is out of his prime. I will declare that. And I thought he was, even from the last fight against Diego, but I thought it was very noticeable there. I thought, honestly, Diego probably could have took more opportunities to try to put out Volk. But nonetheless, man, he's crafty. He's as crafty as they come. One of the highest IQ fighters of all time inside the octagon. And Volk's a legend. He's a great. And he's going to keep going. He's going to keep chugging along. And he's going to fight again. And he's going to look to defend the featherweight belt again. And it's just insane the amount of title wins this guy has at this point. Especially in this era of the UFC. Where guys are all so dangerous. The skill level has shot up compared to like most of John Jones' wins. The bulk of GSP wins, Anderson Silva's wins, Jose Aldo's wins, all those older greats, like the skill level has just improved. Some of Volk's wins have aged bad though, like Ortega, Korean Zombie at that time. But Holloway 3 times is impressive as they get. That's like a top 3 title win, defense again of all time, if not the best. So, he's so impressive, and I'm excited to see him fight again. I'm very interested to see how long he can keep this going, but I am afraid that I may pick against the guy he will fight next, and it's one of these two guys. Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy. This was recently confirmed and announced by the UFC. We knew this was coming. It's in March in London. What better two guys to represent London? Am I right? Am I right or am I right? Nonetheless, though, Movsar, very, very good. Dominant wrestler. Underrated striking. Pretty sneaky powerful as well. Lerone Murphy, one of the most technical strikers in the UFC. Very skilled, very athletic, quick, fast. Doesn't have the craziest punching power or knockout power. However, he's looking, he's pretty slick coming off that crazy spinning elbow win against Aaron Pico. It's Aaron Pico, to be fair, though. But it is clear whoever wins this fight deserves by far the featherweight title shot. And I have a bad feeling they're going to try to sneak João Silva in there. But he's 1-1 in his last two. Just lost to Diego, who couldn't hold a candle to Volk, really. Especially in that first fight, which wasn't that long ago. So, this is by far, in a way, the most obvious number one contender matchup. And right now, I'd probably lean towards Movsar. But, however, especially, like, either guy, if Volk can beat one of these guys, two young up-and-comers, kind of a new generation, they are new generation featherweight, kind of just got to the top of the rankings. Lerone, a very high-level striker. Movsar, very well-rounded and a high-skilled grappler, could get his Dagestan lick back Volkanovski. Man, those are, I'm leaning toward Movsar, and I'm scared for that fight for Volk, very much so. However, if he's able to get it done against one of these two young, up-and-coming, hungry lions just freaking scratching and clawing, wanting that belt so bad, I mean, I don't know what else to say about Volk. He's so phenomenal, man. But both of these matchups are fascinating to me, and I can't wait to see this fight. I think it's a phenomenal fight, Movsar and Lerone. Bit of a hardcore. You know, I love me some Evan Murphy. But nonetheless, though, and whoever wins, it's going to be very interesting to see the build-up to fighting. He'll probably still be 37. I can't remember when he turned 37, but possibly even a 38-year-old Volkanovski, still the featherweight champ. And how long can he keep it going? How long can the chin survive? It's insane to me what he's doing, the skill level that he is able to perform at, and I love the guy. He's a phenomenal fighter, and it would be hard for me to pick against him, just because, like, even against Lopez, he gets enough done to win these fights. But I think these two cats, I would probably pick in a fight against Diego as well. Movsar already beating him, even though that was a short notice debut. I don't know. But, like, Movsar's best win's Arnold Allen. That was a close fight. You could argue Arnold Allen won that fight. Lerone, he doesn't have the craziest, like, I think his best win's Josh Emmett, you know? And it was the highlight reel KO that really got everyone clamoring for the title shot. Honestly, I thought kind of Aljo deserved it more than Lerone, but I thought no matter what, it should have been Movsar and Volk this past weekend. Nonetheless, we got what we got, but we have a clear number one's contender fight right here. It better be one of these two guys, whoever wins in this matchup in March, and the timeline will work out pretty terrifically, if I do say so myself, I think, with Volk getting ready to take on one of these young guys. So I can't wait. They're the two next generations, both guys in the featherweight division. And if Volk's able to get a win over one of those two guys, that's going to be mighty impressive. So this is going to be a very interesting next year for Volkanovski in the featherweight division. Moving on to Diego Lopez. Man, I thought he could have done more. Really, I don't know why guys who their strength is explosivity, power, athleticism, finishing their opponent. You're not going to out-technical kickbox or even grapple. He maybe could have grappled more against Volkanovski, though. He's a very high-level grappler. But nonetheless, he didn't do that, and he tries to get in a point battle and go to decision with Volk and beat him that way. I think that's retarded. He should have been throwing way more caution to the wind, by far. There's a good chance he could have got a finish that way, but hey, Volk, cooking with Volk, gets it done against Diego. Diego's still high level. I think he would do very well against any other featherweight. He's beaten João Silva. I think he'd have a high chance to beat Lerone or Movsar as well. I would maybe, like I said, I'd probably pick Movsar or Lerone over Diego. But still, like, those are close matchups and matchups I want to see in the future. And there's a very good chance he could grab a hold of that featherweight belt once Volk decides to hang the gloves up. And that win could age two wins could age very well for Volk. But nonetheless, Yair Rodriguez is next for Diego. And I know in my last fights to make after UFC 324, I said Yair and João Silva, because that's just what makes sense. But just match up João with another high, like Aljo maybe needs a fight against Yusuf Zalal. I don't know. But we have to have this fight over João Silva fighting Yair. Let me tell you why. Do y'all remember the UFC 314 press conference? Yair Rodriguez is a sick, slick striker. There's tons of beef. That's a crazy build-up. We have to have this fight now. It's the perfect timing to do it. Yair does nothing but sit in the top 5 of the featherweight division somehow, even though his last wins against Patricio Pitbull. Sick Diego Lopez on this guy. I think Diego Lopez absolutely dominates Yair Rodriguez. I think he comes out of the gates like a bat out of hell in a fight against Yair Rodriguez. And I would like to like Yair Rodriguez. His striking is sick. Decent grappling as well. Underrated slick submission skill. But the way he just somehow manages to sit at the top of the featherweight division when he clearly doesn't deserve it, and there's guys ranked below him that do, I'm sick of it. Sick that mean, nasty Diego Lopez on him. And he's going to take Mexico for Brazil. He's going to take his country away. His heritage. He will. No, but I think Diego would absolutely dominate Yair. And we deserve this fight as UFC fans who care about guys that aren't just the tip top of the sport and aren't just the champions. These are two phenomenal, exciting fighters in the UFC right now. And Diego got back-to-back title shots. And honestly, a win over Yair is not that big of a deal for Diego Lopez. He'll probably be favored. And honestly, he needs to have a fight like that after getting a BS title fight, second chance against Volk. And I hate to be like that towards Diego because I love the guy, but he doesn't deserve a fight that puts him in a big spot. Go out and beat Yair, and then we look at a big matchup to, then you look at the big matchup to get you back to a title shot. And, if you earn it, you earn it, no matter how quick of a turnaround it was. But you have to earn it. He didn't earn it for the second Volk fight, so that's that. But we deserve this fight. It'd be not only a great fight, but the buildup would be phenomenal. We already have the beef going between the two guys because of some camp issues between the two separate training camps that they train out of. I just said train a lot. Choo-choo. Nonetheless, though, this is a sick fight. It'd be a sick buildup. And I think Diego would smash him, honestly. And if you're the UFC, you have to be retarded not to make this fight. I don't get why there's this right there for the taking. There's been so many fights like this right for the taking for Dana White and the UFC to make, and they just don't do it. So make it up for us right here. This is a huge co-main event or a sick, crazy. You could do it for, UFC No Chase in September. That's a long wait, but go back to Mexico again. I don't know, or do it in Vegas. International Fight Week because they're international. I don't know. This is a co-main event worthy slot easily, though. Diego's a star. Yair has the Mexican base. Lots of beef. Easily promotable. This is the fight to make next. And then Jean Silva, I don't know. Aljo's there. Featherweight's weird, though, because Aljo's kind of a diva. Then Jean Silva just won, but Diego already beat him, and Diego just lost twice to Volk. Yusuf's on the come up, and then there's kind of some guys in the middle. You're just kind of like, what? So, we'll see what happens, though. I think featherweight may be the best division in the UFC right now. I don't know if that's a hot take, but behind welterweight, maybe. It's probably welterweight, featherweight, bantamweight, lightweight. That's my take. Moving on, though. What the heck? Why does this keep doing that? I don't get that. Benoit Saint-Denis absolutely dominates Dan Hooker, except for no, he didn't. That first round, the Hangman! He was getting teeped to the body, and they were visibly hurting Benoit Saint-Denis. However, he's a very good pressure grappler, and I knew, even though the Hangman beat Mateusz, that's two different grapplers. Mateusz is more, he's putting a pace on you, constantly shooting, wrestling for position. Benoit just keeps coming forward. He's slower, but he's strong, physical, and once he gets a hold of you and gets on top of you, you're not moving. He's going to beat you to a pulp, and that's what he did. And Benoit's just nasty. And I won't lie, when Dustin beat him, which I was psyched, I was so nervous for Dustin. Shout out the Diamond, my favorite fighter of all time. I kind of thought he was done, and then he lost to Moicano. I was like, he was always overrated. Then he beats Prepolek, and I'm like, it's Prepolek, who cares about Kyle Prepolek? Then he beats Ruffy, starches Dariush, and the Ruffy win is looking to age magnificently. We'll talk about that later. And then he comes out of here and beats up on the Hangman, which he should have. But it's time for a real test. a big jump in competition in a fight that, if he wins, gets him a title shot easily. That's against Arman Tsarukyan. And you book this fight as quick as you can, UFC. I know the kind of consensus and like what I've been saying, and just what made sense at the time is Arman versus the winner of Charles and Holloway. Now, here's why you do this over that. Arman and Charles has already fought, and there will probably be another time to run that back over down the line. I think Arman won that fight, but it was super close. And with a Holloway win over Charles and them fighting, I'd favor Arman in that matchup. However, if Arman fights either Holloway or Oliveira, there's a chance Holloway and Oliveira win. And then most likely that's the only guy you got left for Ilia Topuria in one or two more fights going down the timeline. And with a star like Ilia and a big fight that would be Ilia and Arman Tsarukyan, do you want to run the chance of Charles Oliveira or Max Holloway messing that up when they've already got a crack at Topuria, and Topuria cracked them, man? So this is why you do BSD and Arman, because most likely Arman wins this matchup because Benoit's just kind of a more low-level, less athletic Arman Tsarukyan in some ways. Tsarukyan's a better skilled all-around fighter than BSD. I mean, I don't think it'd be a cakewalk for Arman. I think it'd be a very interesting matchup. But I would favor Arman pretty heavily in this fight. And this solidifies Arman and Ilia next for after Ilia and Justin. And I know that's going to sound, I pretty much just started talking about Arman, even though BSD's the guy who got it done this past weekend against Dan Hooker. But we're talking matchups, man. And BSD, I like watching him fight. He's good. I like how ruthless he is. But let's be honest, he just beat up Dan on the ground. And Dan Hooker, kind of easy to beat up on the ground. Arman did it even easier. So, but I think them two should fight each other. And hey, if Benoit gets the win, that's pretty. Spain versus France. Lightweight title shot, and a win over Arman's huge to the name of Benoit Saint Denis. So that helps build the legacy of Ilia. But Arman really is who we want to see Ilia fight, unless we somehow can get the Islam matchup, which that's very less likely to happen at this point. Probably never will. Arman against Benoit. Arman just beat up Dan. Not the best win. And then Benoit just pretty much did the same thing. Let's run Arman and Benoit. We can book it quick. Benoit didn't take that much damage. We book it quick. Book it around the time of Ilia Justin. And as soon as Ilia starches Justin, you get the winner of this against Ilia. And most likely that's Arman. And then we're having that fight like this time next year. And that's a giant fight. Arman's been promoting himself phenomenally. This is a phenomenal main event of a fight night. And then you really get to test Arman's star power, or a phenomenal co-main event as well. I would be very excited to watch this fight. Like I said, would heavy favorite Arman quite a bit, but I think this is a matchup to make, and it's clear, and I think you can get it done rather quickly, too, and get Arman back in the cage. And Benoit always wants to fight, man. He's a warrior. I'm a fan of Benoit, so I like this fight a lot. I think it could get really interesting if Benoit is able to kind of neutralize the stand-up advantage that Arman would have, and also be able to scramble and transition with Arman on the ground. I don't think he would be able to, but Benoit's a mean man, People forget he was Special Forces in France. So, but I think this would just be a phenomenal fight overall. Let's move on. Mauricio Ruffy. Dude, the only pick I got wrong on this card was tied to Ivasa. And he almost pulled it off, that fat slob. How hard, dude, if he just, eat 2,500 calories and you'll drop 20 pounds and be able to breathe, you fatty. Nonetheless, Mauricio Ruffy knocks out Rafael Fiziev. My pick was right on the money for that fight. I didn't think he would finish him, honestly, but he built out of that first round where he arguably, I don't know what the judges scored it, but I thought he ended up stealing that first round towards the end. And man, those straight powerful shots were just too much for Rafael. And if he can make the grappling adjustments, keep a good cardio base, he's going to be very dangerous in the lightweight division. And we just discussed Benoit and Arman's the fight to make next. What do you do with Ruffy? You build a star. And you give him the winner of this. Or the loser, but preferably the winner. You just beat Fiziev. He's number 8. Lightweight's kind of log jammed at the top. The only two newer guys that haven't been there are like Patty and BSD. These guys have been at the top for a long time. Most likely, Ilya's going to beat Justin, probably fight a guy like Arman. these two guys, I don't know. I don't think they'll rematch Ilya at some point. You give Ruffy the winner, and you build a star out of Ruffy. Probably don't do the BMF belt, or maybe. I wouldn't say Ruffy's a BMF guy. Can you imagine Mauricio Ruffy against Max Holloway? Or Mauricio Ruffy versus Charles Oliveira? And that's when you can really see what the grappling chops of Mauricio Ruffy are. I think either of these guys, winner or loser, it's one of these guys, though, and you build a star out of Ruffy. He already has the potential to be there. He has a lot of fans, and you don't even speak English. I don't really think he's with fighting nerds anymore. I think he said he may go back and forth. But can you imagine how big Ruffy would be if he beat one of these guys? And I would prefer to see the Holloway fight. I think that would be exceptional. To see a guy with the power of Mauricio Ruffy coming on the counter against Max Holloway, one of the best boxers in UFC history, that would be a legendary fight, man. I would be okay with no BMF, and that's a main event. I would be just fine with that on a numbered event. That is a sick, sick fight. And you're also testing new blood at the top of the lightweight division. And if Ruffy can get it done against either of these guys, he's shot to the top. Either a title shot next or one away from a title. And even, again, a lot, like, if he fights the loser. Like, I think Oliveira's going to win. If he fights Holloway after a loss over Oliveira, Holloway's a legend. And then Ruffy goes out and beats him. I mean, that's like one of the few times, even though he beat a guy coming off a loss, that I'd be like, still give the guy who won the title shot. It's Max freaking Holloway. I don't know why I'm like being like about this fight against either of these guys, but I think it's just sick. And I think Ruffy has a lot of potential to be like a dude for the UFC. So I love preferably the winner, but either of these guys after their matchup in March. And I think that lines up very well with the timeline as well. Moving on, Quillian Selekilled, the minority killer. No, but he's beat up on his own blood. I love Quillen. He's sick, man. Phenomenal fighter, and he really showed that his bread and butter's at grappling. Long, lanky, very technical as well. Slick at finding the right positions and positioning himself to get control and find that submission against Jamie Malarkey. Still powerful and slick on the feet as well, though, but I think he needs to work a little bit on his footwork and get a little quicker. Nonetheless, though, he's a top prospect in the lightweight division. And I don't think you give him a top 15 guy just yet. You give him one more before then. And this is who you give him. You give him Ignacio. I think this is a perfect fight for both of these guys. Ignacio's coming off the loss against Rafael Fiziev. He still looks very green, even though he's kind of been in the UFC for a while, though. But they both have similar builds, both solid on the feet, both good grapplers. Ignacio, if he's able to beat a young, hungry guy in Quillen, he's proving that he's still like that UFC pretty much top 15 caliber guy and that he can improve, make adjustments, and maybe shoot himself up the rankings one day. But Quillen gets a win over him. Ignacio's pretty much a top 15 guy, even though he's not technically in the rankings, but he pretty much is. He's a solid fighter, really good lightweight, young, and most likely will continue to improve unless I'm retarded. But not only do I think this just makes sense for both guys, I think it's a phenomenal fight. This is a main card of a numbered event. Co-main event of a fight night. This is a phenomenal fight. The hardcores, I know you'll love this one. I think it's just an interesting matchup, too, with Ignacio's ground game as well as his striking. He would have the speed advantage, and I would be interested to see how Quillen would attack that on the feet. And which was what I was interested to see him do against Nasrat, but his parents owned a bakery, and Quillen knocked him out with a head kick. So I would like to see him be on the feet a little more with a more athletic, crisper guy. Even though Ignacio, he's not super dynamic on the feet, though. He's fundamentally sound, quick, athletic. Not too dynamic, though, but that's why I kind of think it's a perfect build before you shoot Quillen up into the top 15 and see what he does after that in the lightweight division. But I like Quillen a lot, and he's a future top 10 lock in the rankings to me. Moving on, Dan the Hangman Hooker. We're going to make these losers kind of quick. What do you do here? I think this is simple. Talked about this in my last Fights to Make video. It's Paddy freaking Pimblett, dude. And I know I talked about you should do Paddy versus the winner maybe like, give Benoit Patty. And you could still do that fight if you decide to do something with Armin. Like, they're all good fights, but I think this just makes more sense. Take a long time off, Patty. Honestly, Dan, you should too. Y'all come back, got the beef, huge fight, absolutely massive fight. It'd be a sick co-main event on a numbered event with a championship headliner on it. The beef, the stylistic matchup. This is just an overall sick fight. Patty, I think he needs to work a little bit more. So I think getting in the octagon with a guy like Dan Hooker, who's a stand-up kickboxer, he's a solid, good stand-up game guy. He's not crazy amazing, though. You know, he's more of a gritty throw-in blow kind of guy. Grappling sucks, so it's kind of a very approachable fight for Patty. I would favor Patty in that fight. And then after that, you give Patty a harder matchup and then see where he lies in the lightweight title race. I think it makes sense for both guys. And this is a winnable fight for Dan Hooker, too. Patty's takedowns aren't what's good. His grappling's good, but his takedowns aren't really. So I think this is actually a pretty winnable fight for Dan as well. I would just favor Patty because I think he's gritty enough to somehow get it to the ground. And I think he's going to learn a lot after that Gaethje fight. But this is just a sick fight, okay? The build-up would be amazing. You couldn't wrestle a rapist off your mother, lad. Hey, Kiwi! Your friend suicided! Or whatever. I don't know what he said, man. That's horrible, though. We don't laugh about that. Moving on. Rafael Fiziev. Dude, I love Fiziev. I have since what fight? I can't remember, but I've always loved Fiziev, but he's a tad bit overrated. He's also a tad bit underrated as well, I think. I think he should drop down to 145 if he could, but I don't think he can, and I don't think he will. I think he's over 30. He's around 34, 35, I believe, if I remember correctly. He's still a really solid lightweight, though, but what is he? 1-3 in his last 4, I believe. 2 losses to Gaethje, lost to Gamrot, lost to Ruffy, win over Baja Mendez. It's time to give someone a chance to shoot up the rankings and defend your spot after that many losses. You get Fares Ziam, Fiziev. I'm sorry, dude, but it's the pickings are ripe, dude. Ripe for the pickings, man. I think Ziam would do bad things to Fiziev as well. I think Ziam is nasty, but I think it's time Fiziev defends that spot in the rankings. He did do it against Ignacio, I suppose, but also, that was a very approachable fight for Fiziev. This necessarily isn't. Of course, Fiziev's a vet of the game and a highly skilled mixed martial artist, so he stands always a good chance against anybody, really anybody, in the lightweight division until he's out of his prime. But Ziam's really good. And I think it's time to make him defend that spot and give Ziam a big name because he deserves it. He's done a lot of good work in the lightweight division. Who's he coming off that win over? Nazim Sidakov. That's a very impressive performance. Very dominant fighter. This is what's to make. And I'm it's like an ominous thing I'm saying because poor Fiziev. I like Fiziev, man. Why is my nose looking huge? That is it for today's video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If y'all prefer anybody that watches this channel, if y'all prefer just going right into the fights to make after UFC 325 over making a whole breakdown of the past card, let me know. Because usually, if you're watching this, you probably watched majority of the big fights at least on said card. So if y'all prefer just kind of hitting on some points, discussing a couple of the winners and losers, the bigger guys, after the said card, let me know in the comments below. Maybe we'll just start doing this every Monday after the card on Saturday. But if you've liked this video, like it. Like the video. Thank you for watching all the way through if you have. I love you and I appreciate you. Please subscribe to the channel. It'd mean the world to me. And comment below if you have some different fights you want to see after UFC 325 involving these guys who competed last Saturday night. But until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, this is CNOL MMA, and I will see y'all tomorrow or Thursday, depending on some things. Y'all be good. Christ is king.